This is the first part of a three-part presentation on how to set up the Word document when preparing financial statements on Microsoft Word.
Okay, in this presentation what we will be covering is the initial setup of Microsoft Word document, and in that we will be looking at how you go about setting the word field shading to always. This enables you to see word fields that will update automatically. We'll also have a look at how you go about setting the default tab setting to 1 centimeter. This is because EasyFS financial settings use centimeters, therefore setting the Word documents tabs to centimeters helps with formatting the Word document. We'll also have a look at how you go about setting format styles in Microsoft Word to give uniform formatting of the financial statements. It also helps to save time. If you set up a word style, it can be reused during the preparation of the financial statements on Microsoft Word. From there we'll be going on to have a look at setting up information from EasyFS Financials on Microsoft Word. So EasyFS provides the following information on Microsoft Word, which you can then copy and paste into your Word document where you're preparing your financial statements. You'd use the shortcut keys Ctrl+C to copy and Ctrl+V to paste. The information that EasyFS Financials produces is for example the tables with financial information. It will produce charts with graphical presentation of financial data, and it will also provide word fields which contain common information or frequently used information to set up word templates that can be reused. It will also provide note numbers that enable consistent numbering and referencing throughout the financial statements. You can use the note numbers both on the tables produced in EasyFS Financials and throughout the Word document, making the note numbering consistent throughout, and also enabling you to reference to notes consistently and accurately. Then from there we will be moving, and I'll be showing you some Microsoft Word tips and tricks. With Microsoft Word, there are certain functions that you have to use which are not readily available in terms of a function from Microsoft Word, but there are some tricks which individuals have come up with that enables you to get the same outcome. Okay, and what I'll be covering in this area is I'll be first showing you how you go about setting up a cover page. And Microsoft Word offers a number of preset cover pages which you can use quite easily. I will also show you how to create the table of contents. We'll be looking at how to correctly split a word table and repeat header rows. That is very important. Correctly splitting a table is vital when you're preparing financial statements from EasyFS Financials. Incorrectly split tables would cause issues when it comes to updating your Word document later on. So it's very important to be able to split your word tables correctly. So that is very important. I can't stress enough the importance of that when preparing financials using EasyFS Financials. We'll also be looking at how you go about adding headers and footers. We'll also look at workaround techniques to include table of content headings in a page header. Now that is very important. That's one of those tricks where Word doesn't allow you to have the table of content items in a header because it doesn't actually link to the table of contents, but there is a trick that enables you to have this functionality, and I'll be walking you through that functionality. We'll be looking at adding bookmarks and cross-referencing items in Microsoft Word. That's very useful when you come to cross-referencing, and also the cross-referencing functionality is used in achieving item number 5 above, which I just explained. So it's a very useful function. You can use it even in other Word documents that you may prepare. So it's an important function that you can learn, and it's not that difficult to use. And finally, what I will be doing is finally we will have a look at how the newly created Word document is updated for changes made in the EasyFS Financials. So that will be my conclusion at the end, and I will show you how you go about updating that. Okay, in this video I would like to show you how you can prepare your financial statements on Microsoft Word with the help of the EasyFS Financial System. So I'm going to just get in here and open up a financial statements that I have prepared beforehand to perform this demonstration. Now for this demonstration, what I've done is I have deleted a lot of the statements here and I've used a couple of the statements because that's sufficient for me to demonstrate the core principles that you have to follow when you're preparing your financial statements on Microsoft Word. What I've also done is I have reduced the note numbers here and this left to me 7 notes numbers here. That's sufficient again for me to demonstrate. Same with the accounting policies, just 5 accounting policies that I've left there. So I've reduced the size of the or the amount of data in this particular statement because it's just purely to demonstrate the process more so than to show you complete financial statements. Now what I'm planning to do today is to show you how you can prepare financial statements in Microsoft Word from scratch. Generally, when you're using EasyFS Financials, you would use a template as a start point and then just modify your template, but there might come an instance where you may not prefer any of the templates and you would like to create your own template for your organization or firm so that they can use that template repeatedly over the years on different financial statements. So let's get started with that. Now the initial process is that you can export the links for all the tables, graphs, etc. So I'll just get into there. So the following is actually created directly in EasyFS Financials, and you create a link on the Word document so that it can be updated as many times as possible. So this process is to export the information along with a link, so that when you copy and paste it onto the Word document, which is your template document, you will have the links so that it can be updated for any changes as many times as you like. Now the reason why I also reduced the number of statements is each statement can add about say 5 to 10 seconds to generate, and when you do your financial statement, if there are any statements that you know that you are not going to be using, I recommend you just delete them out from the system because they just add a couple of seconds every time you do an update, or when you do your initial generation of it. It just adds a few seconds when you're generating it, and that if you were to update a particular statement over the period till you come to the final set, you could have run the generation or update process even up to 50 times, and if you add a couple of seconds on each of the statements, you could have been waiting about half a minute each time you had to update. So you reduce the number of statements to what you really need. That helps you to reduce the amount of time it takes. The same with the note numbering as well. So just bear that in mind. It's about a half a minute or so. It's not big deal, but it is something that will help you to just generate it much more quickly. Alright, so I'm going to generate all of this, and when I generate all of these, I'll include in the graph, word fields, numbers, and all of these statements. It'll give you a rough idea as to how long it takes to generate all of this onto a Word document. One other thing to bear in mind is the speed of this getting generated is dependent on the computer you're using as well, the processor, the hard drive speed, the speed of the RAMs, more than the amount of RAM. You don't need a lot of RAM to run this, but the speed of the RAM can make a difference. So I'm going to just generate this one. So the first thing it does is, before it actually generates any of the statements, is that it will calculate each of the statements, make sure that they are linking properly, that they are accurate, and then it'll start to gather the information it needs to place the information onto the Word document, and then it'll generate the Word document. So every time you run it, it'll do the calculations and make sure it is done correctly. So as you can see, it didn't take all that long and it's finished the process. So I'll just show you what it's done. So it's part of the graph, and I only included one graph into this. You can do more graphs if you like. It's exported the links for the word fields. It's exported the node numbering. It's exported the profit and loss statement. The heading here is just so that you know what it is. We will not be using those headings on our financial statement. We'll be giving it proper headings on the financial statements. So that was the summary P&L. I don't think we'll use that. I normally leave the summary financial statements even though I don't use it in the statements. It's because when I'm preparing it, it's a good snapshot because it shows you what you were expecting the figures to be before you go into detail the preparation of the P&L and balance sheet and stuff. So this is sort of like a snapshot, and I like to keep that because it doesn't actually add any additional work. You just get that report out as well. As you can see all of these markers. That's because this has been turned on. So this is basically the format under which I have set for it to come out. Format can be adjusted a fair degree within the system, of the EasyFS system. It also aligns the numbers and stuff based on the setting and how you set the format in the system. It's much more easier to set it in EasyFS than trying to do it on the Word document. That's why I guess using the system makes it much more easier to prepare your financial statements. Generally, when I work with it, I prefer to keep this turned on so that I can see what the markers are. It helps me to manage it during the preparation process, and those markers don't get printed if you were to print it. So you got a P&L, you got a balance sheet. What else do we have here? We have the equity statement. It's a horizontal, so we need to put this onto a horizontal page or a landscape page rather than a portrait page. So that's that. Then you get the cash flow statement. I left in the revenue note. The other expenses, cash and cash equivalents are left in, and this is the summary data which was used, which is the summary data which was part of the graph which I showed you up at the top. Now you don't have to include this table onto the Word document or to your final financial statement, but if you like to, you can add it. It'll update as well if there's any changes that takes place due to a general journal or some adjustment that's passed, or even if you bring in a new trial balance, it'll update all of this on the Word document, because each one of these items, like each one of these tables, let me show you here, each one of these tables has a link. So all of these are tables, and to the top here, each one of these which are grayed out are actually word fields which are linked as well. So these are the standard fields, and these are the note number references. You can either use the full note number, you can use just a number anywhere in your Word document, or you can use the full description here. This is normally what we use when we are putting in the notes, we don't use words numbering because this gives you better control, whereas the word's own numbering system can go out of sequence. This will not go out of sequence, it will keep the sequence, and when you do update it, it will show you which notes need to be moved up or down. So that is very useful. So this is the one you must use when you're preparing financial statements using the EasyFS financial system. The graphical presentation is here, and within this you already have the data. Now if I were to go to the design mode here, you have the data here. So you have so you can edit the data. For example, it'll bring it up so you probably need to select the data. Yeah, you select the data. So what I normally like to do is for this particular graph, which is standard graph which I normally use, I like to swap the columns and rows. I like the years to be on the x-axis and the revenue and expenses on the y-axis. So I'll say okay for that. What I also like to do is I like to modify the graph and make them you can also use these controls, by the way. So if I want to say change the graph, I can change the type of the graph, but what I want to actually do is not the elements. Now you can just right click here and you can go to change type. Now here what I like to do is, like the revenue, I like to make that a line graph to show just a line going over, and you can see how much it's more than, and then the profits here. It depends on how you like to show it, so you can modify how the graph looks. For example, you can just move this over here and make this longer like that and raise it up. So you can tailor it. This is if you want to sort of show a larger graph. Okay, so I'm just playing around with that. So there's many, you can change the type of the graph, etc., depending on the data type and what you can do with that data in a graph. So that's that. So that's getting the information now. So that's pretty straightforward, right? Now I've also set up here now that the data which this particular file gets all saved in the particular financial statements folder. So I'm just going to open that folder, and that's here in the export. So that's the file there, right? So you don't need to worry about that. What I've also gone ahead and done is I've created a blank statement, which financial statements, which I'm going to do, so which means there's nothing in that Word document. Now as you can notice here, when you do create a template, you need to name it exactly the same name as the data file. The only reason for doing that is that when you back up your data file, it'll also make a backup of your Word document. But if your Word document is named different to what the data file is, it'll only back up the data file. It does not know the name of the Word file. Alright, so just bear that in mind. It makes good sense to do it this way as well, because you know which two files go together. Alright, normally when I do prepare financial statements, I tend to give it a year at the end, but depending on the financial year that I'm preparing, whether it is the 2018 financials, 2017 financials, etc. So you give it a year. Alright, and I covered all of that in creating the financial statements. Alright, let's go ahead and just open the blank Word document. So we have it open on screen. I'm going to go back to the folder here, and what I've also done is I've also set up a structure that I want to follow for my financial statements. This particular one, I don't think I will do a remuneration report. I don't think that's needed for a demonstration, so I'm just going to follow this structure. And I've also put here the accompanying notes form part of these financial statements. That needs to be entered in the footer of each of the main statements, and I put a reminder for myself to make sure that that particular footer is not followed through once I come to the notes, as it's not required. So that's just a basic structure for myself, so that whenever I do a report, I normally like to first create a structure that I'm going to follow. That makes it easy. Then you just need to just put in the relevant information into the relevant sections. This also helps me quickly to know what sort of table of contents I want to create on the Word document as well. Alright, so what I've also done is in here is that the data file here which I've just created was actually the template that was being utilized by this particular data file. I left it, or I renamed it here and just called it data, because I just want to copy some of the paragraphs rather than retyping it in during my demonstration, just to save a little bit of time. So I'll just open that as well. So this was the original structure which was there. So it had it all set up and the word fields just placed in the relevant area so that it updates it. I might just copy some of this information while I'm preparing and showing you how you prepare it from the starter. So this is the table of contents, and yeah, as you can see the graph, I'm going to put it under the operating activities and then mention whether it's profit or loss. As you can see, these are all word fields. Now it's all highlighted, the word fields. I'll show you how you go about doing that as well. I'll probably show that now. So when it comes to the word fields, you can specify in your Word software how you'd like to see it. I like to see my word fields always highlighted. Like you can see, even the page numbers used by Word itself is a field. Alright, so I like to see the word the linked information which are word fields highlighted. And what I normally do is I highlight, give it a yellow highlight where the information needs to be edited, where it needs to be manually edited. Generally I give it a yellow highlight. So that's how I set up my template, so that when you are preparing your financial statements, the grayed out area should automatically update. The yellow areas, the areas you would spend a bit more time formatting or entering the data. So that's the director's report here, and then I had the independent auditor's declaration, the financial statement set out, the balance sheet, etc. So I'm not going to go too much into this particular template. As you can see how it's changed from a portrait page to a landscape page. So that's I'll run through how you go about setting that up as well. This is the again, now what I've done here is for the template I have included a equity statement, which is a landscape equity statement, and I've also included a statement which is the same equity information but this time in a portrait format. So this gives you the option to choose which format you like. If you like the landscape format, then you'd use this. If you like the portrait, you use the one below. Now you generally would go with the landscape if you have like a number of reserves and share capital categories, etc. Then you might prefer to use the landscape, because the portrait can be a little bit lengthy. It takes a whole page in this instance, so it can be a little bit lengthy. Well, not too bad, but it just depends on how you like it shown. Maybe you have if you have, for example, less equity account classifications that you need to show, maybe the portrait format might suit you better, because the landscape is more, since you have so many varieties and you want to sort of show them all as a snapshot on one page. Alright, so that's something you can decide for yourself how you'd like it. Now in the particular demonstration, I think I only retained the portrait because I wanted to show you how you flip between a portrait page to a landscape page, and from a landscape page back to a portrait page. So I wanted to demonstrate how you go about doing that as well. And here's the policies, and so yeah, you basically get the idea. You've seen financials before, I'm sure, and you know what's needed to go in. So this is just showing you the layout of how it's been set up. I'm just scrolling down here. I don't think I really need to go through this, but I thought it might be a good way to just get you conceptualize what I'm trying to achieve in the final set. Alright, so that's basically the data template which is there, which normally what you do is you would continue from this statement from the template and it's modified to meet your requirements once you are achieve the template that you're happy with. Alright, so now so I'll just leave that there. So now I think I've got all my key documents which I wanted to use for this demonstration open. Alright, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my structure here which I want to follow. So I'll copy that and I'm going to paste it here. Alright, now okay, so the reason I copied and pasted it is because I wanted to just close off this Word document, but I don't want to keep too many Word documents open, as it does create a bit of confusion when I try to flip between them. Alright, so now I just have 3, so it's manageable. Alright, so I'll be spending most of my time here in the blank or the new one which I'm creating. As you can see, there's nothing in it other than just the structure that I pasted at the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a break here. So when I'm inserting breaks, I know you can go to the layout, and I'm going to put section breaks between the main statements here because I want to have different headings. So if you want different headings, section break, which is a new page, is the one you need to use so that it doesn't follow the same settings. Alright, so I'm just going to put one section break here. Yeah, normally when you do your cover page, you set it as a different cover page, so that different first page rather. So when you do that, it doesn't copy the headers and footers to the next page. And so you can just do it with a page break. Alright, so I might just do just a page break there. Now here's where I want to put my cover page. Now Word does offer quite a collection of cover pages. So if I go to insert and you have cover page here, now you can actually select Word's cover pages, and I think the Word also has more which you can download. Yeah, incidentally, this version of Word which I'm using is the 2016 Word version, and so your version might be slightly different depending if you're using Word 10 or Word 2013 or 2013. Alright, so I'm just going to pick maybe just a simple format. Maybe I'll just use something like this here for my cover page. Alright, now date, company, yes, you can just insert whatever information you want. So now you got a cover page. So what I want to do is to maybe just give it a title here. I can just type in a title. I can use the same format here if you're happy with, or you can use the formats here. Maybe I'll just use the formats which are here. I normally don't keep these existing Word fields in here. This is a Word connection as well, so I just like to get rid of that and then bring in my own formatting. So let me see if I can maybe I'll just show you how you can use this formatting as being your main now this is the main sort of header formatting I'll be using, but if you like the format which is currently at, you can still use that one. So if I just use that one, maybe so how you do it or how you save your formats when you are creating is you just go and say update to the format. So I'm changing my title to be like that particular format which is there, so I'll do that. Okay, and what for the sub format, I'm just going to our subtitle, I'm just going to copy the existing format there as a subtitle format. Alright, I might modify it a little bit, but you basically get the idea on that one. So I'm going to call this financial report. And here I'm just going to say as a subtitle is say for the year ended, and then what you do here is you would copy the year end from your EasyFS data, which is here. So now these are the word fields which was created. Now I did mention, I'll show you how you get it to highlight. So what you do is to get the fields to highlight, you go to File, Options, and under the Advanced tab you scroll down to Show Document Content, and under the Show Document Content you have here which says Field Shading. I set that to always. You can set it to never, or you can set it to when selected. Alright, so that's something which you can set according to your preference. I like to see it always, so then I know what is linked. Okay, I recommend if you are using EasyFS Financials that you also set it to always. It is very useful. I also like to keep my paragraph markers on because I like to see the spacing and how many times you press enter and stuff like that. Way gives you a bit more control when it comes to doing your formatting and editing. Alright, so now what I want from here is the year end, so I'm going to just copy the year end from here. Now the reason I copy and put so when you copy a word field, you need to make sure you highlight the whole word field. Another way to select a word field is if you just press F11, again F11, it'll jump and select each of the fields, as you can see as I keep toggling F11. Alright, so that's another way to select. So if I go F11, I've selected that. Alright, so then you can just right click it and say copy. So when you copy that, you're also copying the link. Now I'm going to show you the link. Let me see, if you press Alt F9, it should show you the link. Alt F9. So as you can see, it's a word field here, so that's where the data is stored. So it's using the word fields coming across. So if I press Alt F9 again, it'll toggle you back to the data. So that's how Word links back when it comes to the word fields. I'll show you also the links, how they are in the EasyFS financial systems. So I'm just going to go in here, and for the statements, these blue characters are the word fields. So that's the word reference which you enter when you're creating a financial statements. Now if the word reference is to be changed here, then you break the link to the Word document. The export function of EasyFS has a couple of reports you run to see that everything is linked correctly before you actually go ahead and generate the Word document, which is a very powerful feature because it allows you to quickly see how it is linked onto the Word document. Alright, and also when you do update the Word document, if it runs into any exceptions where there is a reference that has come from the EasyFS financial systems which is not in the current database you're using, it'll give you a warning saying that that particular statement was not updated as it was not linked to this current database. Alright, so that's how it links the statements. And I'm also going to go back here and I'll show you the word fields. It uses the word reference here. Alright, so that's how it links. And the statements also uses the same word reference for when it comes to charts as well. Numbers uses the word reference which is in this column here. Alright, so that is the linking. I just wanted to just show you how that all links in. Other than that, I can't think of any other links that I need to show you at this stage. Alright, so we got that. Now did I copy it? Say Control V to paste. Yes, I have copied it. It did change the format. Let's get it to the format we were hoping to use. Alright, now you also probably want the company name here. Now yeah, you can keep it to that format. I'm just using the existing format because I brought that in. So here, come back to the data fields, and I want the company name that's over here. So I press F11 to just highlight it, and just highlight it with your mouse as well. So I'm going to copy that, Control C, and I'm going to paste it onto my template, Control V. I will use the subtitle for that as well, the formatting. Date, I'm not too sure I want to put a date onto that, so let's highlight that and hit delete. Address, yeah, you could put an address if you want, but most company financials put that within the financial statements. I'm going to just delete that as well. Alright, so there we go. Not really too sure about putting the date so small, the name of the company so small at the bottom. I might just highlight that and see if I can just make it a little bit bigger so that it gives a bit more prominence. Alright, so that's the cover page done. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you was how you go about creating a table of contents for your financial statements.
We'll continue the training on part 2 of this presentation.